In this video, I want to look how we can enhance some terrains that we're importing from high field. For example, if you're using USGS map or other things, sometimes you may limit it to specific resolutions or bad quality image. For example, to work on this, right here is 256 by 256 pixels, very low resolution image. And even make worse, I saved this in JPEG format with a high compression rate. So it is our bad input image will be. And what we're going to do, let's go create a one terrain. We'll go right here. Let's put it, leave it on the side as a comparison. This will be one terrain. And we'll just take our main camera, duplicate it so I can move the camera, and we'll just move the camera closer to our terrain. Maybe around here. Let's go to zoom in, switch the camera, bring a little bit closer, and we'll adjust in a second. So right here is our terrain. We'll go to open this in terrain editor. And okay. So in terrain editor, we can see our nodes. Let's kind of spread them out. And this is basic. So we have our input. This we have our simple noise generator, which is right here. And this is we'll use in zero edges. We can switch from non-zero, but I think this way a little bit we can preview kind of elevation a bit better that way. So usually what we do, we're going to create image before loading. Let's see right here we have a 256 by 256, so it's match our resolution. But let's go, let's go increase by 124 by 124, so we have a much higher resolution of terrain versus was image we're using. And this is just for the purpose observation. Usually you want to match your resolution, but I want more points, more pixels, so we can see this. And now we're going preload images. We'll open right here. We have a 256 by 256. We'll go open this image. Basic blending, all this stuff. Let's go ahead, click OK. And you know what? Just let's go ahead, click OK for now. We'll take our camera. You know what? Let's go bring down. Like this, leave it to the side maybe. So we can preview kind of this hill. And you can see in preview already right here, we have these blocks, we have JPEG artifacts and other effects there as well. So this is our one basic. You know what, let's go select the camera and we'll select terrain, both of them, hold down shift key and move. So we kind of copy, move them. Actually, you know what, we'll see, let's undo this. Let's just move it terrain right now. First, hold down Alt key or Option, move it. It will duplicate terrain. We'll just put next, and let's duplicate one more time. So we'll have it 3 terrains we can compare. We'll take our main camera, same things. Hold down Alt or Option, click and move it, and we'll just set up probably about here, kind of matching, not necessarily exactly matching, but it will help us to preview. So what I was meaning. If we preview and we're going on this camera, oops. So it's somewhat matching a little bit, maybe just a little bit off. There you go. So they're kind of matching somewhat position. We can preview, compare all of those 3 results. Okay. This is, if we look on it first, we have very blocky stuff. Let's go ahead and render preview final. We'll do render to screen. That should work. Let's go ahead, click preview. And here's our first original comparison to this. Usually what I was saying, we'll go with a standard terrain first, and we'll go change. And by the way, I'll let you know what's different between all of this and when it's kind of preferably used what you like it. So this is our first terrain. Let's go to this terrain. We'll switch our camera and we'll just open this terrain to edit. First off, as we preview, you can see right here very blocky things. Let's go to function editor. And you notice what we have here, it is our texture. And we have a simple blender. And the blender right now should stay 1, so it's take everything from textures and it's what displayed. So we kind of almost ignoring all of these options, which we can still utilize to add details. First, let's go fix a little bit our texture. And you can see it's preloading here, and it's using interpolation type binary. It's not bad. It does smooth a little bit better. If we use it none, you can see it's become even worse. Okay, so you can see definitely those pixelizations and other things, you can see very, very easy. However, if we're using a little bit more like bicubical, that should actually smooth quite a bit and help to our image. So many times when you see some of that pixelization, you can help. We still see some of this grid, but it's much, much smaller and already improvement versus the first binary. Okay, so that is our first step. However, we still need work out on some of those pixelization removing. And this is when we start blending with the different modes. So for this, let's go ahead, add new fractal, and we'll just, you can use the repeater, noise, or other things, but fractal work very well. We'll use a terrain fractal for this. Okay, we can use any other ones. Also, you can use the raw key or any other, they will work just fine. And we actually want to take this one and replace with our input. So we'll go from our first, just used on altitude. Let's delete those ones. We don't need them anymore. We'll just use it terrain. Next, in this terrain, as we modify, we want to set our blender. And probably best way just to steal one and add mode. So what's happening, add will take altitude and other things, and one add on top another ones by the values. So as we'll do this, we should have a little bit shape enable. And you know what? Let's go to our camera. Oops, I don't want this one. I just want switch to our another camera right here. And we'll just take and bring a little bit closer so we can overview the shape. Okay, we're done with these ones. Let's go to our terrain. Okay, we'll go open edit, go back here. And this is normal shape. If we look, if we go between add, remove our add off. So this is our terrain because it's on input one, so without adding anything. And you can see we have very nice details kind of apply, but the problem is we start changing shapes. You can see how it's round it is, and if we have it add, it will start a little bit changing the shape. To prevent some of the shape changing, we need to remove larger details. To remove larger details from our terrain, we'll just need to go inside the zone, like for example meta scales, and we can just take meta scale down, large features down. Okay, and let's refresh. You can see we just remove it. We needed to add those teeny tiny small kind of rocks that will be there. And of course we need to take a roughness, maybe 0.09. Let's go like this, very low. Okay, and we'll go to roughness, maybe 0.1. So we're kind of reducing those rocks. We make them much, much smaller. And as well, still maybe a little bit too large. Let's go on wave link, reducing. So all what we do here, it's creating this kind of noise generation on this. So it's just teeny tiny noises. That is will be work as a rock swath. We also can take the, just in case, we can just take all of this turbulence, so we don't need to worry about them as well. They won't affect in this case. And our ground one, we can pop up this one a little bit higher just to play with a little bit of values. Maybe a little bit lower on this. Create a little bit difference between height so they don't look uniform, kind of look a little bit different. So let's go pop up maybe around 8.7. Just help us break this uniformity in this rock. So that is applied, and now of course we can go and add. So we'll add to our input one, we'll add another one. And in this case, you can see we still have our general shapes, but what we did, we add teeny tiny rocks over this overlay. And now we can go switch to our another camera. And again, that is not perfect, but it is a little bit help to hide. Of course, we can play a little bit more with the gain in other elements, but general shape will be there preserved. And that's not the perfect way, but it is good kind of beginning to add. So right here, we'll go compare before, and after all, what we do is hiding those elements. Again, let's go, let's go back here, back to our creating noise, and we can also even reduce some of those, make roughness even less on this case. So just make it smaller, and see, let's dump those ones a little bit less. So just overall, we can make it even smaller and a little bit smoother, like right there. So we can play a little bit more. That is a one way to do it. Okay, and actually, you know what, till I'm here, let me do one more thing. We'll go inside the blender, and we'll just a little bit reduce on the blending, but also the blending sometimes better. In this case, probably just to rotate this node, so this will be our main. It cannot connect, of course, because we need to connect from grayscale. Okay, and we'll go altitude here. It should be applied, but now we have it control on general shape, and so we can add just a little bit more these distortions. Okay, well done this one. Let's go preview. And here preview is done, and you can see original, non-tweak it, a little bit tweak it, and right there between these two. It's definitely look a little bit better. We're hiding all of those elements, it's kind of hiding. So this is one way to do it. Okay, so this is kind of one way to do it. Let's look on creating even better way to preview this. So we'll go to our another terrain, okay, and let's go switch camera to our terrain preview. You can see it's our original. What we want to do is going open in terrain editor, and this is look exactly same what we have before. So this is our blender, altitude and everything. First things, let's go in our textures, and we want to switch from binary to bicubical. That will help us a lot to remove some of the stuff. And the other things what I want to do is actually going inside the terrain editor, first tab, and going in configuration and switch from high field to procedural. This is a switch how the Vue will treat this terrain, because at this point terrain it's preset resolution. If we switch to procedural, the resolution will change depend how close it's to the camera. So let's go ahead, switch on procedural. And if we go click procedural right now and look closer, you can see the mesh is changing. It's adding more and more polygons closer to the camera. So what is meaning, if we're going back now to our terrain editor, and we'll do somewhat similar what we've done before with function, we'll just go inside here and going to right click, add fractal, same things what we did before, our terrain fractal, and we'll just going to do same things actually, except I want to set grayscale from texture on input 1, and this one will be on input 2, and a blender mode set to add, and let's just reduce just slightly, or our top, doesn't matter, we can go higher. So what is happening now, we'll apply a little bit better quality. And where is the camera located? Okay, let me do it this way. So we'll go to reload preview. Problem is it is affecting a lot, and again, and we come up with these things that is high details too high, and you can see they pop up. So let's go inside the terrain and switch a couple things. One thing what we want to do is take these larger features and take them down. So that will remove some of those big ones and leave it just small details. Now based on the blender, we're right now 1. Let's drop down to about 1.5. This way it will actually very nicely, you can see we still have a general shape, but now we have it a little bit better details and included those beautiful rocks. So we can even go down a little bit more. Right here, will help us to add this little bit nice rock to general shape. So let's go ahead, click OK. And what do we want to do? We want to render all of them. So let's go ahead and start with our first one, terrain. So I'm just going ahead to render this one first. This is our just straight in preloading, and you can see how it is created this mesh. So let's go to our second camera. We'll render this is with a normal standard terrain, and we'll just apply this extra noise to hide some elements. It's already look quite a bit better. And let's go now with our procedural terrain, where we blend in a little bit more on this one. Okay, let's go render this. And okay, let's take a second. Notice as we're rendering usual procedurals, it's preparing take a little bit longer time to render. This is one of the keep in mind. So when we say what benefits of any of them, you can kind of look what benefits plus and minus of generating. And of course, it's take a little bit longer even pre-render now because the resolutions of this. Also, we have nice beautiful rocks, but we do have some of those details that we kind of want to maybe work out. But again, it's part of this algorithm to creating. And this is edges, it's part of the mountains, not part of the image, was preloaded just. Okay, so it's done rendering. Let's go preview, compare. You can see the general shape still be there. It's just a little bit of rocks overwhelm compared to first one. So we add quite a bit details. Plus, again, for the terrain, preset terrain, if we take camera, and we'll just, let's switch this camera. We'll bring this camera quite a bit closer here. So you will see that is resolution quite a bit increased, even those teeny tiny rocks, because it is fractal based. If we bring closer camera, we're still generating more and more details. If we try to do same things on our terrain, on a standard terrain, right here, and we'll just bring closer, it won't happen because that is already predefined. So this is a resolution predefined for us. Let's go to switch to main camera, overview shape, and you know what, maybe even kind of bring a little bit up and look down. So I want to view all of them, and let's render so we can preview those terrains from higher point. Ignoring textures, the general shape will look about same. Now let's look on what plus and minuses and when do what you want to use. Definitely this first one require less work. You just load an image with binary, you can smooth it. And if you think you will overlay with like heavy ecosystem or other things, that may work for you. If you want a little bit adjustment, I mean smooth out and add some rocks, probably your standard will work. Big benefits of the using normal terrain. It is a very fast render compared to procedural because it does not recalculate there. You'll have it exactly same resolution. So if you think you will using this terrain inside exporting like Unity, Unreal Engine, C4D or something, you want to export, and when you export you will have this precise resolution, and what you see is what you get. So this is that way a little bit better. It's a fixed terrain with fixed resolution. A procedural one will create a little bit better details, and if your position of camera, if your animation, your camera or other things, that definitely will create more realistic terrain, add quite a bit details to the shape of the terrain. You can see it. Biggest withdraw, number one, it's a speed. It will increase render time because it's needed to calculate all the stuff. And a second is it is more than any other techniques will affect the shape of the terrain. And you can see even here we still have a general shape about right, But if we look on smaller details, even a little bit medium details, they are changing. Of course, we can go inside the filter and maybe play a little bit more with the same like we did right here to reduce scale of those large details, like meta scale we can take down, and maybe like gain or some other elements we can have some effect on this to reducing, but it still be from all of these techniques. This is the most effect will be on a shape terrain will be provided, because we actually can control less in its procedural, so we don't necessarily know how it will affect. As a blending modes, we use it add blend mode, and you can try actually different type of the modes overall. And when I say about blend modes, it's this one in our blender. We can also have it a little bit more complex to calculate higher and lower points, and going over this, the little bit create more complex interaction between them. But basic, this way right now we have it just one altitude, and we're adding the another ones, and it's work very well with the small rocks because you don't change a big large sizes. So add teeny tiny bumps and rocks will work very well as a combination on an add. I don't recommend to use it max because sometimes values will change, same as subtract and multiply. So probably between blend and add, it's your best solution. But I found that in many things when I done add work very well in this case. So right here, it's kind of tips how to take this map, very bad low resolution map, inside the Vue, and the ways we can enhance to create a very realistic looking terrain with a very low resolution high field map input. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video or find the channel useful, please give it thumbs up on my video, subscribe, and of course as your Patreon, it's very helpful. Your support is greatly appreciated. It's helped me to produce more videos, tutorials, primarily because I'm kind of independent. It's helped me to upgrade software to new versions so I can record new videos and update. Thank you again for all your support.